All right. Good evening to those of you on the East Coast. A good evening also to those of you on the West Coast or close to it. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us wherever you're watching from. As you know, every Saturday, we try to make it a point to get you up to speed of the goings on in the entertainment industry and our show that we have on Saturdays, known only as This Week in Pop Culture. Now, I know typically try to have our show happen earlier in the day to try to make it happen in the morning. But due to busy lives on both of our accounts, on my account and with my co-hosts who I'm about to introduce. We had to, make it a little later in the day, but we didn't forget about y'all. We wanted to still go through some of the things that happened this week. So it's my pleasure to welcome onto the show my co-host, Mr. Spillman Trueheart. Hey, Spills, what's going on, man?
What's up, Brandon? How's it going, everybody? We had a rainy cherry blossom Saturday.
We did.
Um, we were pretty busy. My bracket. I was riding high yesterday. I was number one in the world.
For real, for
I'm
real. And you know
in the
what?
toilet now.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because I realized that we haven't really been covering. Shame on us that we haven't really been covering March Madness, and I know there has been some craziness that has been going on. We will do a better job. We will do our due diligence to get into some of the other main stories when it comes to March Madness as well. We'll try to make it a point. It's just so much that happens in the world of entertainment, y'all. So we try to have to a lot of
We
times
only
we have
got an
to
hour, ladies and gentlemen. We
we have
only
to
got an hour.
delegate. We have to delegate. We have to really fine tune which ones we're going to cover over the course of the week. But I will take that challenge to bring you some more bring you some March Madness news as well going forward for what there is that we have left, of course. But with that out of the way, let's dive into our stories, Spillman. The first one that I want to get into, and this is regarding Anthony Edwards. I'm gonna put it up here now. This is insane. A lot of people are calling this the dunk of the year. Let me see if I can pull up this gentleman's dunk here. Quite insane. Let me see if I can get it up here. But yes, he had the dunk of the year, dunking on what was it, John Collins of the
John
Utah
Collins.
Jazz. Quite insane. What are your thoughts? And I'm gonna pull up this highlight while you explain this here. But this was in a game that they had on Monday. Go
So
ahead, take it away, man.
I used to ask myself, John Collins averages 20 and 10. He's a good guy. He's got talent. And he was playing in for the Hawks. And I was like, why aren't the Hawks better? Then I saw this, and I could see why. Because it's a different level of
I'm gonna see
athleticism in
if I
the
can get
NBA,
see if
man.
I can get this up for
It's a
y'all.
different level of
There are levels to this.
athleticism. Oh my gosh. There are levels to this. You
So
know,
let me see. See if we got this here. Oh, here we
just
go.
craziness. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me see
We
if I
got
can
it.
get this up here. Get this technology going. Here we go.
All right.
Okay. Hold up. One sec. Is this it? This is our friend here. Up. Hold up. Okay. So we have a minor technical difficulty. Give
Oh,
us
ladies and
a
gentlemen.
second. I know. But I promise you guys it will be worth it. What I'm about to show you guys here. So
It's
let
not
me see if I can
working.
get this up. But in the meantime, what are your thoughts, Spillman, on
I
I mean
just it was
Anthony
a, it was a
Edwards has been
it
having
was
some incredible highlights over the course of this year, but I mean, I have to say this one takes the cake.
I feel like it did. I'm glad that he did this dunk this night because Austin Reeves got dunked on real hard this night too, and
Oh, that's
nobody knows
right.
about
Oh yeah.
it.
You're right about
Nobody
that.
knows about the Austin Reeves dunk.
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
somebody trying to talk to me about it. I was like, what? We're not talking about Anthony Edwards. The dunk was so good that I can get people to not talk about my team being embarrassed in this same way
Oh my
without
goodness.
like, oh my god, it's so crazy. It's such a crazy dunk, ladies and gentlemen. We are
So all
here.
right, here
We're
we go.
waiting.
Here we go.
Here we go.
See, I know we have all this whatchamacallit, all this suspense, but wanted to make sure that we get this here. All right, here we go. Here we go. Now we got this going. Sorry, folks. I know I had this prepared, but whatever. sometimes our technology doesn't want to always cooperate with us. So it sometimes it just goes that way. Okay,
And you
here
guys
we
definitely see that from me because I can never get the balloons to come up
all
on
right, here we go.
command like I want.
Here we go.
Terrible, ladies and gentlemen.
So let
All
me
right.
see.
But again, Austin Reeves got dunked on real hard.
He did.
And they was talking about it in the press conference. And they was like asking him since he was right there up under dude. How did it feel? How did it feel to get banged on? Have you ever been dunked on, Brandon?
I can't say I have, and then that
That's
is
because
the
you don't be
intentional.
playing defense. That's
No,
Olay. I'm
no,
gonna
I
call.
play
He's a
defense.
matador. He is a
Nah,
matador,
I
ladies
play
and gentlemen.
defense.
A
That's not the idea.
matador.
I play
A
defense,
matador.
but I'm not gonna try to go up.
Olay.
I'm not gonna
So
try.
that means
I'm
you
not
don't
gonna
play
try to go up.
defense.
No,
That means you don't
it
play
means I know
defense.
better. It means I know better.
The
So
cowardly
here we go,
lion.
guys. You gotta check this out. So here
I
we
was the
go.
king of the forest.
Oh Lord.
Yam. He had a concussion after this, ladies and gentlemen.
Insane.
He
Let me
hurt
see
his hand on the rim.
Yeah, because
He
if
hurt
I
his hand
recall,
on the
didn't
rim.
he like dislocate? Didn't
He
I
might
feel? I
dislocate
believe
it
they
or
say
he
he
cut his finger or
dislocated.
something.
So I'm gonna give you guys a closer look. This is insane. Watch this, y'all.
Oh
my gosh.
That's like what you do to your little brother on the Nerf court.
Nasty.
That's what you do to your little brother on the Nerf court.
You know what? Guns like these are actually why I'm looking forward to the return of what is it, slam ball that's supposed to be coming back, where they have what is it, like the trampolines?
Oh yeah. I don't
Like,
know how people don't destroy their legs doing that though.
I agree with you, but while I can't see myself doing it, and I know you feel very intimate about that based off of the knee injuries.
My life trials and tribulations, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how people do that. It's amazing. There's certain things I see out in the world that amaze me that people really be doing for free because they don't get paid to do that slam balls.
But it's entertaining to watch. If you want to do it on TV and play the game,
we will watch.
I will watch, but you're not gonna find me doing that. Yeah,
but the air collisions is just crazy.
Well, not even that. It's not even the collisions. It's also, I know we're going off on a tangent here, but like it's just the fact of how you're landing. Like
that's what I know.
And where they have the trampolines at, and even when you do land on the trampolines, how you land. I know too many folks, not you, but other friends of mine who have not had the best luck when it has come to trampolines and how they landed. And let's just say they haven't had the best, results.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing I will never get my kid is a trampoline. I'm like, no, we're not just jumping. We are not just jumping.
So like I said, I'm sure there's going to be way more to come because I know a lot of people have been comparing Anthony Edwards to this generation's Jordan in terms of what we're seeing in terms of his like freakish athleticism.
For sure.
So yeah, I don't know what that look was. I'm not saying that we're going to have like Jordan. We're going to have a Jordan career. I'm not saying that we're going to have a Jordan career, but I'm saying that freakish. But I'm saying that freakish athleticism is definitely there. So I know Bron is still your guy. We can be here all day about me talking about how he's not Jordan.
Reaching, ladies and gentlemen. That's a reach.
No, he's not reaching.
I feel like that's a reach. Fact. I mean, he could jump. He could jump, but
But I feel like his jump shot. I feel like his jumper is better than Jordan's though. Because Jordan was like a solid jump shooter, and I mean he had incredible footwork. Don't get me wrong on that, but I feel like Kobe was a better shooter than Jordan, even though I feel like Jordan overall is the better player. I feel like Kobe is a better shooter.
I'll give Kobe better shooting. Yeah.
So, but again, we'll be here all day talking about comparisons against Jordan, and trying to reach for those accolades that Jordan has. So we'll hop over to the next story. We did have some unfortunate news that happened this week, and this was centered around actor Emmett Walsh, who unfortunately passed away at the age of 88. Just to give a little more specifics, he, as I said, passed away on Tuesday. The cause was cardiac arrest. And if he, looks familiar, he's been in tons and tons of films over the course of his career. But I'm sure, many of you out there probably recognize him from films like The Jerk or Blade Runner, just to name a few. But, he's always, whenever, he pops up, is never a dull moment whenever, you have him coming on the screen, because he's played such despicable villains and very, really good villains. So it's a bummer that he has passed at 88. However, you know, we can also say too that in this day and age, a lot of times we've been hearing folks passing away in their 50s and their 60s, and I feel like just in terms of the technology that we have these days, that's still relatively young. But once you get into those the 80s and 90s, I feel like you can say that you've had a full life. But what are your thoughts, Spillman, on the passing of Emmett Walsh?
Oh, I just want to say that my favorite scene of his is the scene where he's trying to like you said in The Jerk, when he was shooting at the jerk, and he was like, at first he's like, he hates these cans. And he was just running away because he kept like running in the rooms, and he was like, oh my god, he's hitting more cans. He kept shooting them. But yeah, great character actor. He's always villainously scary. Even in that movie, he was scary. He was not scary in the movie. So lived a good life. Great Hollywood profile for sure.
Yeah,
Probably.
I mean, I was gonna say he's right up there with many of the character actors that we have, and so like I said, it's always a bummer to hear a passing of any of these actors that have had such a indelible mark on the industry, in the roles that they've played. I mean, I feel like so many times that so much attention and spotlight is provided to what people title as like the typical leading man or the typical leading lady, and outside of those that may be those staples that you have as quote unquote big time Hollywood stars, be they actors or actresses. You also have those character actors who you see them in many things, and while they may not be the main character, they still provide a pivotal role in a lot of the films that they are a part of. And just like we're giving an example just now, they have such an impact and leave such a mark, in the contributions that they provide, as a co-stars or as a part of an ensemble in a given film. So again, sad to hear about Emmett Walsh passing at 88, but wishing condolences to friends and family. But yeah, sad to hear that he's passed away. But he passed away at 88. So, unlike other times that we have had on the show talking about other folks that have passed, I feel like, it is among this day and age a relatively, full life of being able to pass at 88 versus passing, in your 50s or your 40s or any age. That's
God forbid your 30s, ladies and gentlemen. God forbid.
Yeah, sure. For sure.
Oh yeah.
So for the rest of this show, I'll just give you guys a spoiler that most of what we have for the rest of the show are pretty much teasers and trailers. We had a very teaser and trailer heavy week, with a lot of projects that are, highly anticipated, that, there have been, so much hoopla in terms of being able to get first looks at, what was in store, or what was in store for audiences and seeing each of these films. So buckle up, get ready. The first one that we're going to get into is none other than Beetlejuice, of course. You know, the role made famous by Michael Keaton. We do have, you know, in looking at the teaser, we do have some new additions, but we do have some familiar faces as well. In looking at the trailer, Spielman, what were your thoughts on what they provided to us in this teaser? I love that they, you know, have that music that we so fondly, you know, associate with this film. Mind you, in a different kind of like genre, in a different type of style, but it, you know, it still immediately takes you there. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I will say the thing that I always say about these.
What's
This is
that?
a movie that's come out 30 years after the first movie
30
came out.
plus.
So
30 plus.
we gotta be careful with our expectations of how much of a movie we think we're about to get with this movie. Because
Okay.
it's like 35 years.
36.
But
36. Yeah. But
it
yeah.
was 88. I thought it was 89. But anyway, they do have some of the original ensemble. So
They
I
do.
appreciate that. They
They
got
do.
original ensemble. They had some CGI, but I imagine they're not going to go 100% CGI. So maybe they will save it with some practicals. Because there
Yeah,
was some claymation elements in the original. So, we'll see. I don't feel like I'll care that they didn't do claymation.
no, I hear you. I mean, we do have, you know, in addition in the form of Jenna Ortega, who, you know, I feel like is very much the has become a it girl in terms of the genre, whether we're talking about, you know, fantasy or even horror, you know, and that's thanks, you know, to the Scream franchise. Is also, of course, thanks to what we have with the Wednesday series as well. You know, she's making, you know, appearance in this film, but you know, we do also have, you know, some familiar faces, as I said, with, you know, Winona Ryder and what is it, Catherine O'Hara. So you know, it's always cool to, you know, see some faces that we're familiar with, and to have that reunion with those characters, to have that reunion with, you know, Lydia, and have that reunion between Lydia and Beetlejuice, which, you know, was, you know, such a memorable component in terms of them as a duo and how they kind of, you know, riff off of each other. So you know, definitely looking forward to it. But I do understand your hesitation when it comes to, you know, films like this, because I've talked about it many times, you know, in terms of when is a perfect time to have a sequel to a franchise. And I feel like once you pass that 10 to 15-year gap, then you're kind of getting into shaky territory. And then anything beyond that is really, you know, you're really getting into some really tricky territory. I know a lot of people will say, well, you know, it'll be an opportunity to introduce it to, you know, a new generation, but um that's why we have remakes, right? You know, you can, you know, try to modernize it in a way in which you are redoing the story for a new generation versus trying to continue a story that, you know, may not land the same way it did when, you know, it came out years before. So, you know, I do understand that hesitation. So I will say I'm cautiously optimistic about, you know, checking out the film. You know, I will be there to see it opening day. But I will, in the same way, you know, have that caution, because we have seen it in the past where we've waited that long and it hasn't been, you know, what we anticipated. So
I will say this, though. Since Michael Keaton came back outside, I haven't seen him in a bad movie.
that's true. That is true. And I can't, you know, he in the films that he has done where he is, and he's not the type of actor that kind of, you know, just phones it in. Like when
Yeah.
he is in a movie, like he commits to it and he's, you know, all in. And you know, I feel like he wouldn't have returned to this role if there wasn't something unique that they could do with this new installment. because I'm sure he has, respect for the idea that so many people love. I know that's the cynical side of you. I get it. Yeah, the cynical side of you, the money. I get it. Now I don't disagree with you there, but at the same time, like while I know the cynical side of you is saying money, if we're talking about Michael Keaton, just as you said, he's not someone who is like struggling to find work. Like he is still continuously working in the industry. So he doesn't strike me as the type of person who is just in it for the money. Like he doesn't. I doesn't feel like he needs the money to be able to do the.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have some slight technical difficulties. Oh,
Can
there
you
you go.
still hear me, Spillman?
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Sorry about that. But no, what I was saying is he doesn't strike me as a type of person that needs Beetlejuice to earn an extra paycheck. Seeing that he has been in so much stuff since then, it's not like he's been like disappeared off the face of the map and then like all of a sudden just popped up in this new sequel. So I feel like there has had to have been something that was provided to him or pitched to him in doing this film that he was like, "Oh, okay, that's an interesting idea. I'd be willing to come back." And then, also, I'm sure it didn't hurt to be able to have some of his ensemble back too. To be able to still have that same chemistry to riff off of with the folks from the original. So, still cautiously optimistic, mind you, but I feel like I'm a little more optimistic than you of what we might get. So we'll see.
Well, Michael Keaton don't make bad stuff. Is Tim Burton directing the picture? Is he actually directing it, or they got somebody else?
So let
I
me.
don't know. Then
I,
we'll
I
see.
want to say
I
he
don't know.
is. Yes,
I
he
don't
is.
trust him
Yeah.
no more. I don't trust him no more. I feel like you know how basketball coaches be basketball coaches in certain decades, and then when they be in the new decade, they don't be a good coach no more. You're like, what happened here? It's like because he keep coaching like the last decade, and I feel like he don't make
Okay,
movies
that's
good no
fair.
more. But
Okay. I'll give you
I don't
that.
know.
I'll
I
give you
don't know.
that.
I
I'll
don't
give
know.
you that. So no, I mean I understand that too because like in the last couple of films that he's had, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, and I in terms of his filmography, I love films that are a
He's
part of
got
his.
work. He's done it. Yeah, for sure.
But you are right. In the last like recently in the last few years, what thing films that we've gotten from him, I haven't enjoyed as much as films that have been earlier in his filmography. Um,
Hmm.
and like you said, it just might just be by virtue of the fact of doing
Movies have changed. The
yeah
medium
doing
moves
things
forward. Sometimes you get passed by.
yeah yeah
We don't listen to East Coast rap music no more. It's like, the world moves forward. You can't be mad that the world moves.
for sure. But continuing on with our trend of trailers, we of course also had a teaser for the Penguin, which will be making its way on Max. It's supposed to, from what I understand, follow the events after what we got in the Batman. And if you recall in the Batman, we actually had it concluded in while it was concluded in a way that there seemed to be hope, there was still some unresolved threads that were left. I mean, we could start with first with the major idea of Gotham City being flooded based off of what transpired by the end of Batman, where we left off. But if we're also thinking of just the nature of the underworld of Gotham, with the characters that the players that have been taken off the chessboard, there's a huge power vacuum. So that's going to be prime a prime opportunity for the Penguin here, played by Colin Farrell, to be able to take advantage of that. So it will be interesting to see how they execute that. If it it seems like we're still going to have the aesthetics of the Batman film. Spillman, I know you had a chance to take a look at this like first look teaser. What are your thoughts on what they showed?
I'm very interested in it. I'm interested in Colin Farrell as the Penguin. I like, personally, I think that the comic book show genre, like the comic book hero, superhero genre, is better episodically than it is if you just do a one shot movie. Like I like one shot movies, but I've always felt like the medium is best expressed when you tell a long form story. So to me, I think this is going to be great. Um, Focusing in on the Penguin is a little bit better than some of the other like long form series they've done in the Bat universe. I was okay with Gotham, but it was just kind of like, that's okay. They've done good with their other shows. Obviously, The Flash, Green Arrow. Those shows did pretty good. So I'm pretty positive on this. I like what did I call him before? Uh, it was Twilight Batman. Twilight Batman. I like the Twilight Batman verse. I like that universe. So I'm interested in it. Colin Farrell's a great actor. They seem to have peppered in some things, and it looks like they're actually spending money on the show. So when I feel like they spend money on the show, they care a little bit more about it. They won't be as quick to like pull the plug on it as they would with other stuff. So
Indeed, indeed.
we'll see.
And, uh, we'll, as you said, we'll definitely see if it's anything along the aesthetic that we got in the Batman. I feel like we're in good shape in terms of what's in store, and that's what it seems like we're going to get with this series. My only concern, and this is kind of similar, going back to what you had discussed in the prior story, talking about uh working within franchises, because at the end of the day, even if we're talking about it utilizing a different medium, it's still within the world of this film, so we can pretty much put it under that umbrella of Matt Reeves's Batman, excuse me. So if we're thinking along those lines of a sequel, is there enough here to be able to warrant doing a mini series? While the character was incredible, as I said, that was portrayed by Colin Farrell, and what they did with that character, I just hope that in giving this character his own series, that it doesn't stretch the character too thin, where sometimes when you're doing a film and providing opportunity to do more with a character, a lot of times the film gives you just enough of the character for it not to be boring, where it's still interesting. But sometimes if you provide too much of a character, it kind of takes away the mystique of that character, and it kind of takes away the what is it, the what's the word that I want to use? It kind of takes away the glimmer of that character, if that makes sense, by doing too much of them.
I don't
So
know. I don't know. I feel like with comic book characters especially, they have to develop over time. Like you have to see them doing their things. Like especially with street level bad guys like Batman comic books, Daredevil comic books, Spider Man, Ninja Turtles. You could go down the list. The bad guys need to have like because it's not just that the bad guys are doing bad guy stuff. It's got to build into a crescendo, and I think that of the rogue galleries, Batman's got the best rogue gallery for this kind of a
he's
show.
up there. I would beg to differ that he has the best. Still feel like Spider-Man has a pretty awesome rogues gallery, but Batman is definitely up there. If excuse me, if Spider-Man was 1A, Batman would be 1B. I feel like it's a toss up where, depending on my mood, it's a toss up between either one of them, of whoever has the best rogues gallery. But I do hear you. I guess thankfully with the movie and how it concluded, and this is under the assumption that it is picking up from that point, is just that idea that you're planting enough seeds that allows you allows you the bandwidth or the space to be able to do another story like this. Like I said, thankfully they left it on such a cliffhanger of where the status of the Gotham underworld is now following the Batman, that I feel like it's giving them an opportunity to really kind of fill in the gaps there. So in that regard, I guess it is providing them license to do that. Um, but at the same time, I just hope that it's not going to become kind of what we've seen, just as you said, with prior Batman universe shows or series, where because we don't have the Batman in it, that it feels like a lot of times they kind of run out of things to really tackle or discuss in the show. So hopefully it's very, what we have with this series is that it's not too long, that it's very tight in terms of what the story that they're trying to tell, and that is not too long where we're getting a bunch of filler, where instead of having a filler, we actually have some meat in there of what is absolutely necessary to tell this story. And then I guess the other concern that I have, in thinking about this show, is I just hope that if it is successful, that we don't, because a lot of times this happens too, when Hollywood, when they strike gold with
They
something,
don't start feeding us like a goose
they,
to make
they
that
wear it out.
pate.
They wear it out, and I'm
Make
like,
that sweet
okay,
foie gras.
exactly. So I'm like, if we have a story with the Penguin, great. If we don't have a story for anybody else, let's not try to force throwing in another villain in there to do a mini
We don't
series.
want to see no Killer Croc episodes, nothing silly like that.
We do not. And I mean, there are some ways that you can do some of the grounded villains in Batman's Rogues Gallery, but
It's only so long before you be like, where is
there has to be
Batman?
a reason. But I'm just saying, there has to be a reason that makes sense to give them their own series. So I just hope, and I very much hope that this series is successful. But playing devil's advocate here, if it is successful, I just hope that they don't wear out just that idea of doing other rogues in Batman's Rogues Gallery just for the sake of doing it.
But why do they do that? Why don't they do just a Batman show with Batman in it? Like, I don't understand that. Like,
I mean, I get it to a
just sitting
degree.
here talking about it, like, it doesn't make sense. It was a wildly successful show in the past. Like, other TV shows where the superhero is in the show are successful. But DC's done that like a bunch of times. Like they did that with like Lois, like not Lois and Clark, but they did that with Smallville where he wasn't quite Superman. And that like makes a little bit more sense because they do have like the Superboy comics, but a show without Batman about Batman, like you say, just it boggles the mind.
So that's what I'm saying. I just hope that this is a one-off unless they have a legitimate story to tell if they decide to come back to it. I just hope that this is it. Like we don't get any more like mini series of a villain. Unless it's absolutely necessary. They have provide something in terms of what they establish in the universe to warrant doing another story. But at least from what we've seen with what we have here in this Penguin series, it looks promising. So, I will check it out. All right. So outside of what we have in the comic universe with Batman, we did have another teaser that dropped, and this is for a highly anticipated horror franchise, one of my favorite. Of course, the Xenomorphs, the aliens. We did have a trailer that dropped for Alien Romulus, which gave us a look at the latest installment, which is directed by Fede Alvarez, who many folks may recognize the name as the director of the Evil Dead remake that came out. I want to say it was over like I want to say it was actually a decade ago. It's about a decade ago that we got that Evil Dead remake, and what he has shown us in this teaser, looks quite promising, and what based off of, what have seen in his other films of, the grisly and very, graphic nature of the violence that he has in a lot of his films. It seems like he's bringing it over to this new installment. Spillman, I know you had a chance to take a look at the teaser as well. What are your thoughts on what we saw in it?
Man, they have got the face hugger aliens shooting at people and hitting them in the head like they get hit with a beanbag in a riot.
And I'm trying to remember,
Them face
like,
huggers is like, wow.
yeah, I'm trying to remember too. I was gonna say and I could be wrong about this, but isn't this like the first time that we have seen? And I know we've had it in other mediums and video games and things like that, but I'm saying in the movie space with this franchise, have we ever seen it where we've just had like armies upon armies of like face huggers? And I mean, yes, we did have Alien versus Predator, but it was like one at a time. Even though we had that
Yeah.
that room in which all those aliens were in, those face huggers were in, they were coming at people one at a time. It wasn't like a free for all in what we saw in this teaser. So
Yeah, it was just crazy. So to me, I'm ready for it. Alien is one of the great franchises. It's very scary. It's so great. They like Marvel Comics made some fake aliens. They didn't get the money to pay for the real aliens to put them in Marvel, so they got their own fake ones. I'm sure there's a fake one in DC, unless they have the rights. But everywhere they do that, face huggers, so scary,
crazy. And I
crazy.
mean, yeah, there is also a interview, and I'll try to put it in the description as well, in which Alvarez, the director, sat down. I want to say with the podcast and went into some of the details. So he did reveal a couple of things. One thing that I will say that we do know that he does, highlight, and if you guys don't want to hear some of these, minor spoilers, I feel like I'll say they're mild spoilers. If you want to go in completely fresh, you can, skip past this right now, if you're watching this after the fact, or, you can come back, guys, leave and come back. But, getting into some of the things that he talks about is that Romulus component, that subtitle that he has in the title of this film, comments on just that story of Romulus and Remus, and how there's going to be two different facilities that our film is going to take place, where we have a facility that I guess is going under that title of Remus, and another one that's going under that title of Romulus. And in terms of the setting, it's supposed to take place between Alien, so the first film in the franchise, and Aliens, the second film. It will be borrowing some plot elements from Prometheus, in that I guess what we were introduced to in terms of like that black goo from Prometheus is going to be returning in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't really go into details about it, but he did tease that we will see another type of xenomorph. So
Ooh.
whatever that might be, it'll be really fascinating to see what that might be. But I'm very curious. But I am glad, like with this teaser, that we're not shown a whole bunch. I feel like even when we do have teasers, I feel like they show way too much, and I feel like they show more than enough here to kind of whet the appetite, so to speak. But they show just enough to get you interested, but they don't show too much where you feel like you've seen the whole movie, even in the teaser. So I'm sure that they're going to probably have a trailer before the release, because it's supposed to be releasing in August of this year. But let's just hope that they're able to continue on that trend of not showing too much, because I'm sure they'll have to show at least one more trailer before it's all said and done. Now, with all of that in mind, and thinking of Comic-Con coming up in late July, I'm hoping we will see, because it's not unheard of that we have screenings at Comic-Con, is that we have this film showing, and I feel like there was one other film that I'm brain farting on, that I know it's supposed to be releasing. Oh, Deadpool, releasing in July. So that we have something along the lines of Deadpool, something special with Deadpool, and then perhaps this film. Because like I remember at my first Comic-Con that I was able to see District 9 almost like a whole month in advance, because I believe it had released that August towards the end of summer. But I was able to see it during Comic-Con. And even, there've been other films too, like, Cowboys and Aliens and Captain America, the First Avenger. But if they could drop this during Comic-Con and it really, sets off a good impression, that'd be some good buzz for Disney, to be able to have, going into the film's release. Which, let's be honest, with what has been going on with Marvel, what has been happening with Marvel in the last, few years or so. They could use, some good momentum or some good word of mouth with some of the properties that they have. Because I feel like, Star Wars is not in the film franchise is not in the best shape. The TV, component of it, or the streaming component of it, might be a different matter. But at least with what we have with the films, there hasn't been a lot of goodwill towards the films, the last few films that we've had. Do you have any final thoughts, Spills, before we move on to our final story?
Just please keep the aliens black. Sometimes they like to mix breed them, and then they come out of crazy.
No protomorphs.
Yeah, I don't like those ones.
No, not the protomorphs.
I like them.
The neomorphs. The neomorphs.
Yeah.
Neomorphs.
Like, no, thank you.
No,
thank you
no backbursters. No backbursters. No.
No
back bursters, no throat bursters, no. Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. So getting into our last story today, I wanted to get into, of course, Game of Thrones, and the series that is known only as House of the Dragon. We did have green and black trailers that were dropped this week, and if you are familiar with the show, in them dropping those green and black trailers, they're dropping trailers that are specific to the two factions that we have among that house in House of the Dragon. So, Spillman, what are your thoughts? I'm trying to recall. I believe you told me that you did see the first season of House of the Dragon, or perhaps you only got halfway through. I had a chance to see the entire season, but I don't recall if.
I feel like you're disrespecting me now, so I'm gonna make sure the people in the internet can't like make fun of me in that way. So
fair enough. Game of Thrones has always been something that has that I've had a great deal of fun enjoying. Notwithstanding the last, I want to say, season and a half that I feel was kind of rushed. To say it mildly, I feel it was kind of rushed. But outside of that, the series always has, just as you said, those water cooler moments that you're like, did you see what happened this past weekend? What they did on the show this week? And it's always fun to be able to discuss that with other fellow fans of those like crazy moments that have happened within the world of Game of Thrones. I will respectfully disagree about what you were saying about season 2, in that the seasons overall, if we're talking about it as an overall package, many of the seasons were really good. It was just how it concluded. Like I said, I want to say that whole last season and maybe like part of the second to last season, just felt like really rushed in terms of like characters and how loose ends were wrapped up and things like that. So with us going into the second season, they left some nice threads hanging that they can continue forth with. I do like the creativity that has gone into their marketing with this season, where in that first season we were just starting to get that split of the greens and the blacks with our Targaryen family. And so now it feels like we're really going to get into the meat of what the conflict is. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like, because it felt like a lot of even though I enjoyed the first season, a lot of the first season, which is understandable, just felt like a lot of setup. Like, okay, this character is this character is about to raise this dragon, or this character is creating this bond with this dragon, or this person is allying himself with this person, and I'm like, okay, now that we've established all that, now that we have a clear idea of all the players that we have, so to speak, that are on the board, now we can really get into the fun stuff of them just fighting versus us trying to. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there are other characters that are going to be introduced, new characters that we have, but it will still be fun now that we've had a lot of the intros out of the way and the relationships, established, to really get into the conflict, because they hype up so much of the conflict. Okay, okay, I lost you briefly there, but I was like, in the prior series, um, the original series, they put so much hype into this conflict that happened with the Targaryens amongst themselves. So I'm really interested to see it actually play out, because we hear about it so much, in the prior show, of how devastating and how gruesome it was, but we haven't seen it. So like I'm curious to see what that looks like. Um so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what they have, and I love that they're trying to establish this idea of what side are you choosing, like who are you with? Are you with the blacks? Or are you with the greens? Personally, myself, I'm with the blacks based off of how.
Me too, Brandon. Me too. Speaking of the blacks, did you see that jersey swap?
Yes, yes. I was thinking about. I'll be honest, and I'm gonna tell y'all here.
We can't do that on the show. That's not for the show. That's not for the show, ladies and gentlemen.
I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do that.
We're mature adults. We're refined gentlemen,
right,
ladies and gentlemen.
Refined gentlemen.
Refined gentlemen.
But no, I will challenge you guys to, you guys could check it up out there. Where there was a jersey swap with two players, one with the last name Black and the other one with the last name Dick. So
you didn't even have to leave it. You should have just left it as an innuendo, and it would have been perfect.
You guys gotta check it out, though. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Funny. But do you have any other final thoughts regarding just the show, or what you're perhaps looking forward to before we wrap up here?
I'm looking forward to more Shiesty Royal things. I like that. More backstabbing and that kind of stuff. We have in the real world some royal stuff, but we do. We're happy. We're hopefully, we're shouting out to you, Kate. Hope you feel better.
Yes.
That sucks. And we're all collectively sorry for being nosy about your life. So we'll do it through the Game of Thrones instead, because this is not real.
So yeah. With that being said, of course, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out our show, whether you're checking it out live or checking it out in person. Well, not in person, I'll say after the fact is what I wanted to say. But with that being said, I'm going to punt it over, of course, to Spillman. Spillman, can you tell folks where they can find you, Chief?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Truly Spill on Instagram. Wholesome fun all the time. We're trying to do good things. And remember to give us 5 stars. And don't forget that, the Lakers are still leading the Warriors in the standings. So let's go.
All right. Fair deal. Fair deal. So minus a Austin Reeves poster. I want to thank Spills, of course, for hopping on to the show as always. As I mentioned before, I'm your host, Brandon Choi, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. If you enjoy a lot of the content that we do here, know that you guys can, provide your support, as we are on Patreon. I realize that I typically don't get into that, but I'll mention it today. We are on Patreon. If you're into supporting your creators there. And you can also, if you're checking this out in this dual broadcast that we have on Facebook, we also have Facebook stars. So you can support us there on with those Facebook stars that they have, those that cool feature that they have on Facebook with the Facebook stars that you can take advantage of too, if you enjoy a lot of the content. Lastly, I wanted to also be able to remind you guys that tomorrow I will be doing some continued coverage on AwesomeCon, as I will have, you know, two friends on the show joining us, and that is um, Jay Saunders, who is not only you know, jack of all trades, whether it's as an actor, as an artist, as a, you know, as a director, as a writer. You know, you've seen, if you are a big fan of horror films. Let's give me an example. If you know the VHS franchise, he was in the GoPro zombie film from VHS 2. If you are, you know, up to speed on the VHS horror franchise, but he is quite an impressive artist, you know, in his own right, with the art that he provides, which I am looking forward to, you know, showing you guys. All I can say is that, you know, not only with this artwork, uh, he has a, you know, a unique aesthetic that he utilizes with the utilization of, believe it or not, gunshots. So I'm definitely into, you know, showing you, you know, what that looks like, because he does have a video of some of his pieces of art that he had available at AwesomeCon this year. And then, of course, also we'll have who has been on the show before, just as Jay, who I just mentioned now, has been on, and that's none other than Dan Parent, who, you know, is icon in the world of comics, in his work under with Archie Comics, and the what he has, you know, done in the world of Archie and the Archie universe for, gosh, you know, well over what, 20, 30 years, um, uh, uh, doing what he has done for in the world of Archie. So be on the lookout for that. That show is going to be happening live in a dual broadcast that we have, of course, right here on YouTube, but also on Facebook as a dual live broadcast. And that will be happening at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there. And of course,
Peace.
see you soon. Peace.
It's not gonna do it. It's not gonna do it.
Oh, it's going to do it. It's going to do it. It's going to do it.
It's not gonna do
Oh,
it.
man. Nope.
Oh, it
It
didn't work,
didn't.
ladies and gentlemen. Oh well. Next week. Next week.